Come on into the room, be coachable, teachable, trainable. Post your city and state where you're catching this live from on today. I am Brand Master Martina Britt Yelverton, and today's discussion is about how to pull leads from your own story. So if you have no earthly idea how to pull leads from your story, then today is the day for you, and let's jump right in, okay? So you don't need an offer to get leads. You actually need a reliable story that will build trust, right? It will show people how to go from being stuck to starting, from starting to struggling, from struggling to how to get on into a strategy to move forward, to move the needle in their business, right? You don't necessarily need to have your brand built yet, but you need to know that you are the brand. So if you have no earthly idea what I'm talking about, then today's lesson is for you. In today's lesson, in today's session, we're actually going to talk through how to pull powerful, profitable leads from your personal story. And if you haven't developed that yet, I'm going to give you 4 points today, plus, and you will be, well, 4+ points today, and you will be able to figure out, like, this is where I am. I'm not there yet. We're going to cover some objections because I know you have those, and we're going to reframe some of the results. So come on into the room, Janice and Betty and George. So good to see you again, George. Thank you for being here on our live. If you'll tap the screen and share the stream so others can get this information, that would be greatly appreciated. The key points that we're going to cover today are that most people overlook their story because they think that what they've gone through may not be enough. They think that what I'm trying to help people understand is about me. It's actually not about you. Your story that you're going through is so that you will have gone through the test, gotten through the test, and have a testimony, because someone else is going to come along and they're going to need you, right? It means being vulnerable. Yes, it means having clarity about what you've gone through and the power in what you've gone through, because i.e. that equals trust. Story-driven content is more engaging and it's more shareable, okay? So if you do that versus talking about facts and features and, benefits and what systems may have, but telling your story about what you've gone through to get to where you are, people will dial in for that. People will share that, right? It will make you so that you become referable, you become rememberable, you are remarkable because you have gone through something and you want to help people understand how they too can get through something as well. I hope that makes sense for you, Mary. So if you think about that, then let's jump right into part one of where you are, because you may be thinking, I don't know that my story is powerful. I don't know that it's believable. If you went through it, you experienced it, it happened, people should believe it. They should know about it so they can understand how to get through what it is that they need to get through. And you may be wondering, well, I don't even know how to get leads. Just tell your story. You don't specifically need a lead magnet. You are the magnet. I'll say that again for the people in the back. You don't necessarily need a lead magnet. You are the magnet, right? And if you tell your story in the right way, then you will be able to understand and you will be able to see how it will be attractive for other people who need to hear your overcoming story. So let's jump right into it so you can understand it's okay. People ain't perfect, right? They want the real you. They want the relatable you. They want the you that they can now, trust and understand. All right. So let's go into point number one that you may be missing, you may not understand. Your audience wants to see themselves in your journey. That's point number one. They want to see themselves in your overcoming story. They want to see themselves in your victory, right? If you've overcome any struggle, it doesn't matter what the struggle is. If you figure something out, if you've helped someone, if you have got a story that others are probably going through, think about it right now. We are currently making it through this current economy. If you have a situation where you have a loved one that is currently going through a diagnosis, right? And you are there for them to support them, and they fight the fight, F cancer, they fight the fight and they move through. My story with my mom, okay? They fight cancer and they make it through to another side. She lost the battle. You know what I'm saying? Then if you are there to support them, then you can talk about your journey and supporting them. It doesn't necessarily have to be your situation with that particular thing, but how did you get through the news of your bestie, your mother, your father, your cousin, right? Your own child. How did you get through that? If you've overcome any struggle, if you figure something out, if you have a skill set, something that you do very, very well, someone wants to hear that, right? Again, people are tired of the perfection. People are tired, love you, IG, but people are tired of what it looks like when you set everything up all nice and perfect and you exemplify something that mirrors perfection. They're tired of that. They really want to see themselves and what they going through right now in your journey, and they want to see your overcoming. So that's point one. Your audience wants to be able to see themselves in your victory. They want to see themselves in your overcoming story, right? So go ahead and tell them, let them see the messy desk that we got going on. You guys don't want to see what's on the other side of this camera. It's a hot mess, right? But again, I don't have a problem sharing that because that's a part of the journey. How do you get on here and do this content every single Tuesday through Friday for the last 90 days? Mind you, we've been at this 17 plus years. How do you do that? I do that because I know you guys are wondering how to build a brand, how to promote yourself, how to get your story out, you're wondering how to do what it is that other people that you see online are doing. And I'm telling you, someone wants to see what you're doing as well. So share the story. Tell the steps, the ups, the downs, the highs and lows. Again, your story is the most underrated lead generator that you have. So tell the story. All right. Point two of that is the story structure. It really is what will build the trust. So if you're doing it wrong, if you are sharing your story and it's not generating you leads, right? You could be telling your story to the wrong audience. You could also be telling your story in the wrong structure, in the wrong way. So let me give you 4 parts that you can actually go and reevaluate your story to figure out how to tell your story in a powerful, impactful, increasing way so that you can pull leads from your story. The first thing you want to think about is the before. What happened before, right? What were you struggling with? And be honest. All right. So before the brand, okay, I was struggling with disorganization. Before that fretful night where domestic violence entered my life, I was struggling with what? How to run a household and balance a job, a career, friendships, family, all of that. So before we became the brand master, before we built youth lifestyle training, before, you have to tell what you were struggling with before. Chaotic kids. Did you know that you can actually pay your kids in a business structure format and write all that off? And I'm not talking about allowances. Okay. Think about those things that you did before you overcame. What were you struggling with? What were you going through? How terrible was the cake when you first started making it, right? Before famous Amy's cookies got here, before you actually were able to make the bangingest meatloaf. Like what was it like before, right? And then the next thing is the shift. What did you realize or what did you try that actually changed everything? That's the shift. Okay. So you want to start with what happened before. And then when did you realize something needed to change? What was it that you did that made the change? What was the shift that happened? Okay. In my situation, before, okay, the 4 little crumb snatchers got here, it was just me going to high school, coming out of high school, going into college, doing what I thought was going to be the thing. Before my firstborn, I was waking up when I felt like it. All right. Before I got to college, I was doing it the way I wanted to do. What was that before? You get to college, you on your own. You got to figure out how you gonna eat. You end up pregnant. You and your best friend get together and you think y'all gonna do some things where you do a little drink. Things turn differently. Now your best friend is your baby daddy. Okay. Then what happened? All right. The shift was now I got a mouth to feed. I got to figure out how I'm gonna finish school. I got to figure out how me and myself, even though I had to come back home. What happened? What was the shift? I had to come back home. Well, I'm back home with my mom. I'm grown. right? With my one little son at the time, I had to get a job. I had to finish school, right? Finish the school. You have to be able to tell the story in a way that people can relate to the story, right? And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to tell the story the first few times, because you will figure out and you will see the pivot. You will see the connection that happens when you're telling your story and what lands and what relates to people. How you go through a second baby, a third baby, a fourth baby, all right, a marriage, a divorce, a marriage again, right? So now you're in a marriage, you're in a house, you're renting a house, you don't own it yet, but you got four little crumb snatchers, and the devil enters your marriage, and domestic violence pops up. Now what happens, right? The shift was that ain't gonna be my story. Me and all four of these babies will go to my mom's house, and that's where we will be, and that's where we will rewrite the plan, and that's where we will shift and we will pivot and we will do better. Okay, you make those types of pivots and shifts so that people can hear your story and relate to it. So here you are, four crumb snatchers, married, the devil enters, and now what you gonna do? Right? You gave up the corporate job to become the stay-at-home mom to four crumb snatchers. Now you don't have a job. You're back at home. You're with your mom. You're a grown person, married with four kids, and you had to go back home to your mom. How does that work? You shift. You go back to school. You start a business. Y'all know that don't work. You got four kids, but you at home, going to school, in your mom's house, starting a business. That don't work out so well, right? You end up going on the welfare system. Like, tell the shift in the story, and you realize this ain't for me. You end up evicted. You have to go back home. You still got four crumb snatchers, okay? I'm telling you, tell the story because people can relate to that story. Now, there is an after that happens, right? After. What happened after you took action? Well, what happened was I realized I have some business ethics about me. I have some legacy, some generational mindset that said you can run a business, you can run a successful business. I was 2, 3, 4, 5 in my small toddler years, right, with my grandparents who were both at home. Why? Because they were business owners. I grew up in business, being under the guidance of business ownership from home-based business. Both my grandparents, because my mother became a nurse, she worked. So I had it in me, the mindset to see somewhere that this could work. Here we are 17 years later, still running a business, okay? Home ownership, grown children. The last one is 17. She's about to be 18 in about a month or so, okay? Running a successful business. It has been hard, but what? I stood the test. I stayed the course, right? Being able to figure out what it is that people need. People need a brand. People need to know that they are valuable. People need to know that there is something that they have that they can turn into a business and that they can now share. They can give that value to these streets, and there is a way that they can actually earn from it. That's part of the after. So then what you can do in the fourth step is the invitation. Because you tell people, just like I'm telling you, if I can do this, you can too. Let me show you how. How you get yourself together. You get your assets in order, as I say. You learn what it is that is valuable about you. You package it properly. You are a brand. You already have a brand. You're just not using it, right? Yesterday, we talked about taking an inventory of it. This Friday, we get together, and over the course of the weekend, you'll receive a brand inventory activation checklist when you join the free community at learnleadandlevelup.com. You come into our free community, and now on Follow Through Fridays, we're going to come together and you're actually going to walk through a brand inventory checklist so you can figure out, I am the brand, right? And when you know that you are the brand and you begin to take inventory of all the branding steps that you need to take to move forward in your business, now you will be able to understand, wow, I do have value. People need what it is that I have. This is the solution. This is my story. This is how I overcame. And I can share that with someone else and help them move the needle in their brand or business as well. Okay. When you do these things and you package that story in the right way, people who hear that story and resonate with that story, they will be attracted to you. They will be drawn to you and you will be able to serve them. All right. So you're probably thinking, okay, now that I go through and I build the business structure and I tell that story, however, I tell it 3, 4 different times, 30, 40, 50 times to the right people. Now, what do I do to pull the leads? You take those pivotal points, those valuable points, and use them in Instagram captions. You use them in live introductions, introducing yourself, short form reels. You put an about section in your funnel. You create video content like today's episode, and you talk about the highs, the lows, the bullets, and you invite them. If you want to know more about my story, you want to hear the full story, then take the opportunity to follow me on all of my social media platforms so that you can learn more about me, so that you can become aware of who I am, and I may be available to serve you, right, on a higher level by telling you what I do along the way, and it can help you overcome as well. That's a part of the invitation, but you take the opportunity to share that story as often as you can because people are going through things. Trust me, my entire CTT squad right now is under attack. So many of us are here in this new economy, but my entire CTT squad is under attack right now. So that lets me know we all on to something great. We are all on the cusp of something great. And when I say all, I mean every single one of them has their own current test that by God's grace will be their testimony. And they will be able to share their story to pull leads because other people need to hear that story and how they overcome, how they overcame, how they did it so that they can know that they can too. That's how you pull leads from your story. What's going on, CTT Squad members? So good to see all of you. I'm telling you guys, if you learn how to share that story in the right format, in the right structure, you will attract people to you that need what it is that you have to offer. Okay. You may be thinking, well, do leads equal sales? Eventually they can, right? Instead of just saying buy my thing, you can say, here's how I went from A to B, and here's how you can too. And if you'd like to know more about that, then come and join me on this journey. Find out more about what it is that I'm doing and see if I may be able to help you, if I may be able to serve you, right? That's one of the ways that you can offer people the opportunity to subscribe to your channel, to follow you, to select the bell to get alerts, to comment below, to share the actual stream that resonated with them with others, right? Now, when they come into your ecosystem, they come into your atmosphere, you can find out more about them. They can find out more about you, and you can determine whether or not that is even an ideal client for you. That's even a lead that you may not even want to, nurture. It depends. So before I close, I do want to get over into our objections. And one of them is that you may be saying your story is not big enough. I hate to tell you, small stories connect faster than the big ones. Why? Because they're more relatable. Okay. Think about going through marriage and miscarriage. Think about going through divorce, coming out of the welfare system, going through the loss of a parent, both parents, the loss of your best friend's parents, the loss of, your everything that you can go through, and you can tell it in a soundbite. And I'm still standing. 8 years later, I'm still standing, right? I know she's gone. Hello, I know she's gone. But to me, my story is she's still at the beach. It's not a reality I'm willing to entertain right now. Why? Because I'm still living. I am my mother's wildest dream. I am still walking out every single thing that she put in me, right? So you have to think about that. If you have a small story, because 52 years, y'all know I have multiple stories that have happened in this life, right? But it may be that small signature story, as Coach Dr. Cheryl Wood tells you, that actually lands the interest of the individual that opts in and may want to know more. Just because of the 1, 2, or 3 things that you said, small stories still move the needle. You may be thinking, I'm still trying to figure things out. If you weren't still trying to figure things out, you wouldn't be here. If you had it all figured out, you'd be gone. Why? Because he's purposed you to wake up every day and do something. right? If you had it figured out, you wouldn't be here. That is what makes the journey more powerful. People will relate to process. People will relate to your practicing. People will relate to all of those things beyond what you think is perfection. They don't relate to perfection. So because you're still figuring it out is what will make them interested. This will allow them to know, like, and trust you. And the last objection that I have listed here is I don't want to share my personal stuff. Okay, don't overshare. I didn't tell you what happened on that fretful night. I just let you know that domestic violence entered my marriage. And I had to make a pivot. I had to take all four of my kids and I had to go back home. That's not oversharing. Just tell the truth, right? And talk about the transformation, not the trauma. Domestic violence entered, me and my 4 kids exited, right? Some people don't get the opportunity to leave. I did. And here's what has happened since. I have 4 amazing kids who are on amazing journeys. And here I am as your brand master sharing that you too could make that pivot where you have to leave and walk away. It ain't going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Okay? You have to think about that with regards to why you're going through a test. I say to my CTT squad all the time, when I'm frustrated, when I'm going through something, when I am like at my wit's end, what is the lesson? What is the lesson that I'm supposed to get from this? Because if I keep repeating something, I'm not learning the lesson. What is the lesson? The lesson that you learned, the lesson that you will learn, the lesson that you are currently learning is for a purpose. What is the reason I am coming up against whatever I am coming up against at this time in my life? What is the freaking lesson that I'm supposed to learn? Because until you learn the lesson, you're going to keep repeating it. But there's a small caveat. You may have to repeat the lesson because there's going to be someone that comes along that needs to know how you're overcoming. So I want to ask this closing question as I conclude. What's one struggle? And I know you guys have many, so don't worry about that. But what's one struggle that you've overcome that you think your audience may relate to? The reason I'm asking you that is because you need to work through that one struggle that you have overcome that you feel your audience could relate to, because that could be the jump start, the launching pad, the foundational part of your brand story that will allow you to pull leads. And what I mean by pull leads, attract people who are also on that same journey, who want to know, how in the world am I going to get through this? All right. Your story builds trust. It makes you searchable. It makes you relatable. It gives people a reason to follow you and work with you. So stop hiding and start connecting. This way, when you share your story, you're available to connect with people that need what it is that you have. And you attract people that need what it is that you have to serve them with. You are here for a person. Someone somewhere is waiting for you to do what you were purposed and passionate to do so that they can know that they can too. And I challenge you today, figure out what specific niche area that you are in. What particular audience are you serving, and what part of your story can you share with them to move through whatever it is you are currently facing today? I have gotten messages for the last probably 2 weeks from each and every one of my CTT squad members while I'm currently going through my own thing. And I mean, every single one of you are going through something right now without telling each one of you what's going on. But no, that means we are on to something great. And it's time for us to, what they say, 10 toes down. I hope I'm using that correctly in a metaphor today. 10 toes down, dig deep and figure out what is the lesson that you are currently going through and get through it, because someone is coming along that's going to need you. They're going to need to know how you did it, how you maintained, how you got through, how you overcame. And I'm glad that this message was for you today, sis. I love you. I promise you guys, if you can figure out your story and you can put it in the correct structure and format, we talked about that earlier. Go ahead and go back and watch that, catch it on the replay. Then you will be able to pull leads from your story and move the needle in your life and in your business, as well as the person that you were meant to serve. Thank you guys for your time on today. If you would, please tap the screen and share the stream with others who need this information. I know it's meant for someone. I know what I'm going through is meant for me as well as others. And if you'll take the opportunity to go through your 5 steps, when you get to that 5th A and B step, then you will understand what does it mean and how does it benefit me and well as others, and you'll be able to move forward. Thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. Excited that if you would like to join me in after office hours at learnleadandlevelup.com, take the opportunity, get your free membership, go up to the tab up top that says events and click on today's dates, and I'll catch you guys over in live after office hours. Hey y'all, hey, Brandmaster Martina Britt Yelverton here, updating you about our daily live training and follow-up live open office hours. Join me every Tuesday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for live actionable lessons on building your brand from scratch. We'll cover everything from tools, strategies, and systems like Canva, StreamYard, Go High Level, AI technology, and more, to include the exact steps to take you from confused to confident. And the best part is, after each live stream, you can hop on Zoom with us to ask your questions and get personalized answers. Don't miss out. Mark your calendar and subscribe now to this YouTube channel. Join our free community, and I'll say it louder for the people in the back. If you want to learn, lead, and level up your automation in your MLM company, or as an entrepreneur who could possibly be struggling in your business, we not only have the solution, we also have the experts. Yes, this is your sign to join us. Our entire team is live each weekday. So if you snooze, you will lose. I said what I said. You heard what you heard. Now do what you now know you need to do to get your assets in order.